All right. Good morning, everyone. Happy Monday, new week. And we're gonna do a bit more game dev, I think, today. Work on the engine at least, right? Make sure we haven't missed anything. What are we missing? I am missing one more thing. Hang on. All right, it'll be a minute. Okay, we are not quite there yet. We have one more thing to do. We're gonna make some tea. Plants are planting. We need to charge something here. Be over there. That looked like that's a little bit too much, isn't it? Okay, let's see. Can we connect to the lights? Yes, we can. Only one of them. Well, it's nice and warm, but it's a bit too intense. Let's make it a little bit less intense. Oh, it's barely on. All right, let's kill that. Okay. Right, 3 minutes, then we should have some tea. We got a bit of music going, do we? Yes, we do. I need to wire up this microphone. All right, there we go. Cables are gone. Table cleared. Tripods removed. Hello, Runtime. How you doing? Good morning to you. Publish this on. I didn't publish this on Discord. There we go. Right. Yeah, a little bit on the slow start today, but there you go. Wow, 8 minutes and I still haven't made the tea. Clearly, I didn't do this properly. Fix the focus. Autofocus is working. Yes, it is, and it's being strangely quiet, but okay. Light slicing. All right, then the only thing we're missing is, oh yeah, I'm not in focus. Okay, I need to change the focus point. That should fix that part, and it did. Caffeinating, yes. That is a thing. I thought about drinking coffee the other day, but I decided against it. Having spent the last, what is it, like 7 years without drinking coffee, feels odd to get back into it. So we won't be doing that. Should update this computer in the process. Always do that. Well, gotta remember to do that. Kid wants to get back into programming again, so we're gonna see how that's gonna pan out. Tea's ready. So let me go and grab the tea, and then we're going to catch up. Okay? Ah, yes. There we go. There we go. Timer's done. Yeah. All right, and that computer is on. Let's do a sys update there, and then we can power off. Okay, let's start up Tmux. We got nothing going on there. Let's go to the Bungeon project, and let's have a look at what we're actually going to do today. What did we leave off? Well, you're a close second Armadon, right? Depending on the definition of close. Okay, what did we do? What did we do? We started integrating this thing. That's what we were doing. We were moving. We moved code into its own project. And none of this is documented. No, because I started writing this. That's what I did, right? Okay. What qualities do I consider a great engineer to have? You know what? That's a pretty good question, Armadon. I like the question. So if I don't care what I think, which you kind of shouldn't, but you know, what do I consider a quality in a great engineer? Obviously, this sub is so good. Thank you so much, Armadon. What do I consider a great the qualities? So I would put. Oh yeah, I still haven't fixed that. Yeah. But they looked fixed. They looked. You know what? I have something for this. Okay. These are post-it notes. These are very large post-it. Either that or I have a really small head. I'm a really small person, right? Phone for scale, okay? In case anyone actually believed that was that small. These are amazing. And I have one of these on my door. So when I leave this room, I can write down things that I need to deal with before I leave. So when I'm done streaming today and I'm gonna leave, there's some writing on this now saying, review and fix the sub alerts. Okay. So I would say that one of the greatest qualities of a software engineer, I'm gonna add the word software in there, right? Because I think that's kind of what we're talking about. And but this probably isn't just for software engineers. It's curiosity, okay? Curiosity and tenacity are probably two great qualities of an engineer, right? Now, if we're going to be a bit more pragmatic, I would probably say that one of the good qualities of an engineer is to be able to understand what they're reading. Okay. What does that mean? Reading and digesting documentation, right? So being able to understand how something works from just reading documentation or something like that, right? I don't think that everyone has that ability. And I think it's even more corroded by the fact that we are constantly bombarded by information and like input, that it becomes increasingly more difficult to filter the noise. I guess this is what you refer to as the signal to noise ratio, right? But really, it is difficult to you can give someone the entire Intel's x86 assembly instruction, right? You can give someone that to read, or you can say you can read this, or you can watch YouTube content for 2 hours, right? And most people will probably pick the YouTube content, right? I'm not different. I haven't read Intel's instruction manual. Again, I'm not trying to become an assembly programmer. That was just an example. But that is sort of something that I find might be lacking a bit in the world of engineering, right? I think it's not, but then again, I really don't like the term software engineer, right? Software engineer kind of irks me a little bit because we're not really engineers, are we, right? There might, maybe like if you have a degree in actual software engineering, then you're an engineer, maybe. But other than that, I just feel like I don't like the term. I mentioned this in the past as well, because engineer actually means something, right? I never went to school to become an engineer of any kind. I don't have a degree of any value, right? So for me to call myself an engineer is a little bit diminishing the value of people who went through education, spent a lot of time learning things, paid a lot of money because school, and then I'm supposed to sit next to them and be like, yeah, I'm an engineer too. And they'll be like, really? Did you spend 5 years, flailing around in sadness and terror? And I said, nah, I didn't do that. I just read a lot of shit online. Oh, I guess arguably you could, Schools are overrated. I think schools aren't overrated. Okay, here's my take on it, and I have a little bit of a connection to reality here as I say this. Okay, schools aren't overrated. They are vastly underrated, and we seem to be doing our utmost as a civilization to destroy the education system. Students leave the education system full of debt, being like, well, all right, now I'm going to get that C-level job so I can pay off all this debt. And then the job industry is like, right? And then you have the teachers being completely rendered impotent by the thing that runs the education system, right? A teacher, you can't do anything, right? You can't assert your authority because then the students feel bullied. You can't do anything. So the teachers don't like the education system, right? The students don't like it because it costs a lot of money and there's a lot of stress. The teachers don't like it because they're rendered impotent and can't actually teach, right? To put this into perspective, as a teacher today, if you have one student being a massive head and just completely destroying the entire class, you can literally do nothing about it. And if the child goes home to the parent and go, the teacher yelled at me today, and I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. People use these terms, right? And I feel like my rights have been violated. Okay, student, like people in children in 5th grade, 6th grade, 4th grade will say these things, right? And I feel like my rights have been violated, and it doesn't say. You think that no, kids don't talk like that. They do, right? My child used the term weaponized incompetence the other day, and I laughed. I thought it was really funny, but it's like, why do you know that term? Anyway, I digress. So the child goes home and be like, the teacher was violating my rights. The parent, most parents believe the children, right? Most parents are idiots, right? We tend to think that what our kids are saying is the truth, right? So the parent will now contact the school and go, this teacher violated my kid's right. And now because the teacher said to the kid, could you just be quiet now? All right, or something like that. Now the teacher has to go through meetings with the parent, and sometimes they even have to have some kind of legal representative or whatever in this. And I'm like, oh my God, right? So students don't like the education system, teachers don't like the education system, and politicians keep butchering the financial backbone of the economics of the educational system. So more and more money are taken out of the school, right? When was the last time you later like, oh, teachers getting a massive pay raise and we're injecting 10 billion pounds into the education system? Right? Now, so schools aren't overrated. They're vastly undervalued. And we are doing a really good job at making kids not want to go to school, not want to learn, teachers not want to teach, people not want to become teachers. The future's bright. Yes. So, but the point is that college can't teach us engineering. I do believe that most people who are interested in engineering or software development, they will have gone through the process of teaching themselves before they got there. I work with people who had a degree in computer science, which I know isn't massively focused on software engineering, but they had degrees in computer science and they didn't know anything, right? They're like, oh yeah, we programmed a bit of Java. And these guys weren't interested in becoming programmers. They just happened to work in the same place as I did, and they had these degrees, right? And it just blew my mind. Like, why, if you're not interested in computers, why did you get a degree in computer science, right? But anyway, right? You do need, engineering is worth way more. Yeah, I mean, that is kind of to the point, right? You can't just grab some dude off the street, give him a job as a programmer, some autodidact, right? Give him a job as a programmer and then call him an engineer, right? That is vastly deflating the meaning of being an engineer, right? So you got like on one, it's like calling people doctors, right? Who like medical doctors, right? So you have a doctorate in like medicine. You've gone through. You're an actual qualified doctor. You're allowed to prescribe heroin to bunnies or whatever it is, right? That's you can diagnose a fart from a mile away, right? And then you got some random guys like, oh yeah, I went to this like place where they taught us about healing crystals. I'm a doctor, by the way. Oh, your head fell off. Well, hold this healing crystal for a week and you'll be fine. School is awesome. The current state of school is awful. Yeah. I mean, we do need school, right? We recognize this as a society. We make school mandatory in a lot of places. There are places in the world where you're not entitled an education. Then there are places where you are required to attend school, right? You can't. And this is to protect children, amongst other things, because otherwise the parents would be like, you're not going to school, but you come and work with me then for free. Okay, run the family business, right? And yeah, that's a bit manky. So we have mandatory education, but that doesn't mean that the education is going to be good. All right, it's like now I'm waiting for the next shift. It's coming. It's going to happen sooner rather than later, right? Because teachers are so utterly butterly abused, it's not even funny. I can attest this. My wife teaches third grade, and this is not hyperbole by any means. Principal later told my wife she couldn't discipline. So no, I know it is. We're literally at so the pendulum is swinging. Okay, back in like the 40s and 50s, if a student was acting up, they get the hand, right? You whack the kid with a stick, and they're like, don't do that. Then throughout some period of history, we somehow learn that you can't beat kids to make them smart or pay attention, right? You can't beat knowledge into children, okay? All right? It doesn't work, okay? You might be tempted, but you would be misguided, also a criminal, right? You can't beat the kids. But it kind of went from there to the complete opposite. So now you can't do anything. Some teachers aren't even allowed to throw a kid out of the classroom. Now, if you think about the consequences of that, as a child, if I figure out, and I have no interest in school, because a child doesn't look at school as like, oh yeah, this is my bright future. My life's gonna be amazing. They don't look at the world like that. They'll be like, when can I get out of here so I can do the fun thing? Okay? So if a child figures out that you can't throw it out, but it doesn't want to learn, so all it has to do is just throw the books throughout the room and start screaming, okay? The teacher can't take the kid out of the classroom because they're not allowed to. The other students aren't going to learn. So now the teacher is focused on one person. You got 20 other kids sitting there, possibly able to learn until this kicks off. But the teacher's not allowed to take the student out of the classroom. They can't just go, look, off. You're done, okay? You don't want to be, don't be here, okay? Your parents are obviously idiots. What can I do? Get out of here, right? I mean, it's not that black and white, calm down. But, you know, you can't do anything. You cannot do anything in this situation. A child can literally hold the entire class hostage, right? I mean, not with guns, but, you know, by being an asshole. Because the teacher can't do anything. If they do something, they might face repercussions, right? Imagine that someone who doesn't want to be where you are, who's forced to be where you are, and is also 10 years old, has some control over the future of your income. Is that not an insane situation to you, right? I mean, if I throw the kid out, I have to face the consequences. But I am teaching the child that they can do whatever they want. So the child doesn't learn about consequences because I can't throw them out. This is perfect. One of the reasons why we have school is so that you learn not to be an asshole, okay? If you think going to school is just about teaching you how to add two numbers and get 11, then no. School is there to also teach you to interact with other people. You go to school your first day, you see a kid has something you want, you hit them on the head with a rock, you take the thing they want, right? And now another person comes up to you and says, you can't do that. And then all the other kids go, we're not going to play with you because you're embarrassing all, okay? And you go, okay, maybe I put the rock down and ask politely next time. I mean, this is oversimplifying it a little bit, but you know, and that's how we learn. But when a student can brain another student, take their thing and then go, I felt like I was being unjustly treated because Kevin had the car and I wanted to play with the car and I don't know how to express myself other than through conversation using rocks, okay? And then the kids go, oh, okay, well, we're not allowed to exclude you, so I guess we're all living mortal peril now from you and your rocks. And the teacher goes, yes, that was some creative communication. What else am I allowed to see? You have successfully expressed what you wanted. Please don't report me. Okay. We still group children by age instead of interest and competence. Yes. Do you know why we do that? Because we're not allowed, and this is a generalization again, okay? Some countries this holds true, some countries this not. You're not allowed to take someone out of second grade and put them together with someone in fourth and fifth grade, okay? There's various reasons for this. Some of it has to do with how mature you are. Maybe you are smart enough, but you're not at a mature enough level to interact with all the students, okay? So it's not as simple as just going, oh, you're very good at maths and doing things with rocks, so you should go and play with those kids that are 2 years older than you, right? There's a psychological aspect to that as well, right? But you can't do this. You can't group kids who do poorly with other kids that do poorly because, have you heard the expression, no kid left behind? Or as I like to phrase it, all kids held behind, okay? You're not allowed to do this. And as a parent with a child who goes to school, I hear the stories from my child, and she'd be like, she'd come home and be like, oh man, like this group job thing we had to do, and this one person was eating the glue instead of using it the way they're supposed to, took all our supplies and tried to burn the school down. So needless to say, I'm from the experience. I am not going to get good grades or whatever it is. Again, I'm oversimplifying and this is not actually based on a true story. But the point is, my kid has to work with people that she does not get on with. My child is, she might not be a gifted child, but she's very smart. Okay. She is grades ahead of her students in some subjects and she's doing really well in other subjects. She could definitely move up 2 classes when it comes to other things. I don't think that she's mature enough to do that, but she could, right? But no, you get paired up with whoever you get paired up with. You're not allowed to put the kids who don't want to do fuck all in their own group, because that is exclusion. You're not allowed to exclude students, right? Teachers have my deepest sympathy, right? And at least once or twice a week, I just ponder the situation of the educational system in the world that we have it, right? I remember people working as teachers in the UK being worried about getting stabbed. I know other countries have bigger issues, okay? But I don't know them personally. I didn't meet anyone who worked in a school over there, right? But I met people who worked, I remember a guy was paid £18,000 a year to work as a teacher in an area called Brixton, when Brixton was not a good area, okay? It's a bit fancy now as gentrification, right? But, oh my, you know? So yeah, there's a lot of that, right? There's a lot of that. Hello, Kobinja. That's my wife. She can't send kids to the principal office. She has to send an email to the principal about the kid acting up, and the principal may or may not do anything about it. Yep. And the best part is, Sergeant Pepper. The best part is, if you get a spineless little goblin as a principal who are so afraid of the parents that they will throw the teachers under the bus, okay? Then you're on to a winning combination, okay? If the principal doesn't take the teacher's side, okay, you are basically, your job is to run the school, and part of running the school is to make sure it's an environment for the teachers to work in, okay? But if you keep throwing your staff under the bus, kids as always, yes. One of the reasons why the rich people have the separate schools. Yeah, and this is why I think private schools are okay. But if you're a politician, you should, for sake, not be allowed to send your kid to private school. I mean, obviously, if you have some means to affect the educational system, should you be allowed to say, oh no, the education system is fine? Oh, really? So where does your kid go to school? Whatever, nerd. Next question. That's my wife's principal. She's at a private school that doesn't have enough paying students, so principals there for parents, not teachers. I want you to give my regards to your wife, Pepper. I want you to tell her that I think that she's an absolute hero for being a teacher today. Okay. And I have the deepest sympathy for the struggles that she has to put up with. The stupid, entitled, idiotic parents. I guess idiotic and stupid was a bit redundant, but parents that you have to deal with, that she has to deal with, right? Ugh. Give her flowers and a chocolate and a back rub and be like, well done, honey, okay? I support you for choosing to work in this terrible environment, okay? Because someone has to teach these rascals, all right? Good old beating at worst, yeah. Well, we certainly did not do game there, but we're gonna get into it shortly. How you doing, Danaka? My mom had a son of the educational minister in a school, though I'm not sure if that made a difference. No, but at least I think that's good, Modprog, because that at least speaks to the fact that you can't be in charge of something. You can't be in charge of the competition, okay? That doesn't work, right? Like, yeah. I'm in charge of the school over there, so I am so confident in my ability that I send my kid to school over there. So I think that is right though, right? Whether it made a difference or not, that is how it should be, okay? If you're the minister of public transport, you better not drive around in your fucking town car then, right? Ride the bus like everyone else, you idiot. Luckily, in New York State, they have teachers union. Good. I know that my sister-in-law would have been 5 years ago for simply trying to teach in a classroom, but that is also a red flag. Okay. Imagine that you're gonna meet with a customer, and every time you're gonna meet with a customer, you have to have a union rep with you, right? And imagine that you're just going to have a conversation with your boss. You got to have a union rep with you, okay? It's insane. It's insane. It's insane that you have to have some kind of solicitor or lawyer or legal person around. Anyway, right. We're going to put a pin in that conversation, as exciting as it is. In exactly 9 hours, my next YouTube short's coming out. I've made one since then, but I don't want to release them with a higher frequency because it takes time to come up with these things. And I decided to stay in bed yesterday morning. I stayed in bed and I said, I refuse to get out of bed until I come up with a new idea. It was very effective. I tried the same thing again today and fell asleep, which is why we're streaming at this hour. Anyway, my brother is a teacher for German and music. He has a doctorate degree in music science. Nice. Good on him. Also, props to him for being a teacher. We need more male teachers. There are an abundance of female teachers. We need more male teachers, right? We need that. If you look at like grade 1 to whatever, it's very female dominated, okay? We need more male teachers, right? But there are initiatives to try to get men into teaching, but you can't get anyone into teaching now because teaching sucks. Because they've destroyed it. Anyway, pendulum will swing the other way again soon. Don't worry about it. We're not going to get back to the 40s where we beat the kids with a stick, but at least we'll be able to eject children out of the classroom. I remember being thrown out of the classroom a few times. One of my classmates got picked up, smacked into a locker a few times, and then out the door. Anyway, probably not the best thing. I didn't go to an amazing school, but anyway, all right, game there. Let's do it. Let's hop to it. Okay, so we have a game loop builder here, which is not working. So what do we need to pass into this thing? Right? I'm gonna try to remember what all of these things do. So I will do that now. I got a question for chat though while I'm trying to figure this out. I want to share videos with some of you, but I want to share them because there are people who are subscribed to this channel and I love you guys. Thank you so much for being that. And for those people, they get to see some of the video stuff earlier and I posted into the sub lounge on Discord. But I have no good means of sharing this on Discord. So if anyone knows a sensible way that you can share a video for someone with a link, please let me know, because when I upload something to YouTube and set this thing to go live in 2 days from now, then I can't share that link with anyone. It's very frustrating. I don't want to upload 2 videos either to YouTube. Anyway, right. Not really a big problem, but if anyone has something, thank you, Scorn. Right? Yes, I've seen that, Pepper. You've been doing the go.rust thing, and I wonder what's that like with GD extension, right? Because when I did this, it was back with GD native. Now it's different. So, what's your experience so far? Okay, so we need to pass in some things in here, and we need to do that pesky little thing called documenting, right? So we're gonna create something called rend. So let's make a renderer here. Let's have a struct called renderer here, and we're just gonna implement the renderer, and we're gonna have a function called render that takes a mutable reference to self, and it's gonna do the fancy thing of just saying rendering. And let's wrap some kind of value in there. So we do this as a value, let rend equals renderer, like this. That's how we do it. Okay. Now, when we run this thing, we need to build this this thing that we're gonna give this to, right? It's been nice, surprised the transition from GDScript to Rust. It's been smooth as it was. Oh man, it was so much unsafe and stuff in the past. The thing I got stuck on lately is my own Rust skill, trying to build a reusable finite state machine, or an FSM, but I just figured out something that'll work for me for now. Good work. Am I not live on YouTube? Is it just no one cares? There's no cat peasants around? That's okay. So at every something rather, we are going to do something. We're gonna run this thing. We're gonna set it to like a second tick or whatever. Hello, Viscount. How you doing? In object script, I don't even know what object script is. Is that wait? Is that the Epic thing? No, who made object script? It's a reasonably new thing for a game engine, right? Cataclysmical peasantry. Yes, I don't know what they are. How you liking the game so far, Danaka? Got a smart pointer ownership rules, tripped me up a bit. Downcasting got his own object in Rustland. Took me a bit of grok, but I got it now. Nice. Intersystems for healthcare IT data platforms. Really? I thought, what was the thing there? There was a game engine that came out with a thing recently, a scripting language recently, right? So I come in, fair enough, Scott. You're like, oh, YouTube. Twitch. AoE. All right. Area of effect 4. Gotcha. Maybe I should try it. I am stuck on Black Deck in Balatro, and it's so bloody hard. I have no idea how to beat it other than with luck. I know I got that Tanaka. I was just being a dingus. So, okay. Let's see. A render. So we're going to pass something into the build or here. And how does this look like in the actual game engine though, right? Because we have to run this in the client. So it's not as straightforward as that, right? Oh, what? Age of Empires or Area of Effect? Let's see. Yes. Okay. What are we gonna do with this thing? We need to have the renderer be able to do something. So we need to deal with a little bit of ownership rules here now, right? Oh, and I run into an interesting thing in Rust that I'm gonna maybe if time permits, I'll jump to it later on today. But I am a little bit stumped by a thing. Actually, you know what? Never mind. Let's not even get into it. Right? I wrote a security code driver over LSM, and I used Golang as agent in user space for metric streaming of threads. I love Go, but Go sometimes have garbage collection issues. Thinking to move Rust over to WASM. Is there a question in there somewhere, simply? I'll await the question. Okay, so we have our window handler. We're passing in the server, passing in the game. So at this point, we already have the game loop. So the renderer has to be set up at this point. All right. What is doing the render? The state is doing the rendering. Now, that's not entirely good. Right? Have you faced issues with memory issues for high network throughput, Rust, user space application? I mean, we just call them Rust application because everything I write is in user space. But I have not experienced any memory issues. And as a fact, because Rust allows you to have control over the memory, I don't think if you run into an issue, it's going to be by your design, so you have to change that. But that also means that you can change that, right? So I think it's really down to what is it that is causing the what is it that causing the memory issue, right? So when you say memory issue, I don't know if that is like an OM, right? Or if that is a memory leaks happening all the time. I don't know what the memory issue would be, but whether it is out of memory or leaky memory, either way, you're in control. So for that reason, right? I don't know if WASM would have been my go-to thing there. Does it need to be WASM? Can't you just run it on the platform, right? Do you need to add another layer of abstractions? I do not know. Okay. So the state is currently in charge of rendering, which is a little bit gross, right? So if we look at the render function, we can see we actually need to render. We could pass in something that makes everything accessible for the render. So when we call render, we can pass in the bits that we need for that, right? So I think that could be okay. So really what we call state should just really be the graphical state. Most of my memory issues with Rust were of my own design. What memory issues weren't by your design, Tenak? I'm not being a dick. I'm genuinely curious, right? There was an old, so back in the day, there was something called the Lycopolyps. Lycopolyps? I don't remember exactly the term. It was a weird thing to say, but it had to do with references to RCs, and that could cause memory leaks. Unintentional memory leaks, I should say. But that has long since been dealt with one way or another, so I don't think that's an issue, right? Since Rust interact with the kernel, I don't like to force Rust to use unsafe blocks. Does unsafe block mess up memory? No. Okay, simply, that is very vital information to know. First of all, no. What you can do, simply, it depends on how much code that you have that is leaving Rust, okay? Let's say, right, that we have the kernel is up here, okay? That's the kernel. And then we have like all your Rust code living here, okay? It's a lot of it. And you have this little thing here, right? This little thing here, which is getting input from the kernel, and then it does something with it, and then you have something becoming output to the kernel, right? But obviously things aren't that straightforward, right? I don't know what that's supposed to be, a question mark? All right. So the kernel's input goes here. Then you can transform all this thing into safe Rust code. And once you have safe Rust code, this thing can go and do whatever you want, right? In all kinds of places. And then finally, you get it back here and then back to the kernel, right? So you really only have two unsafe points, input and output, right? Maybe what you're doing is you're borrowing, you're getting a pointer from the kernel to some memory, and you're doing a bunch of things. You just gotta know who owns the data, right? Now that is, I mean, the entire premise of Rust is ownership, right? As long as you know who owns the data. Does the kernel own the data? Then you don't take ownership of it. Does the Rust code own the data? Then you don't let the kernel take ownership of it. It's as simple as that, right? the unsafe blocks should only be where they are needed, right? So let's say that you have a large application doing a lot of things, and you have one function that is some kind of external function, do it, that gets a pointer to a byte, and it's going to do something with it. And that's it, right? Actually, let's make this thing immutable, pointer to a byte. And all this application is supposed to do as a public API is just mangle this thing in one way or another, right? So what we're going to do first, we're going to know what this thing is, right? You're going to solve that part, okay? And that's your unsafe block in here, okay? Because Rust can't make any guarantees about this thing because this thing comes from you somewhere, right? You have some C code that's gonna call this or whatever, right? And let's say that this thing is a length as well, right? So this is supposed to become a slice after the fact, right? So you will do a slice of bytes. Whatever it is that you do with it, you do that in here, do unsafe things here, and then we're gonna return the safe thing from here. So save thing is now here, and now you can progress from here on out. We're just gonna do this to make this thing compile. All right, this code in here is irrelevant, right? There we go. So now from here on out, you just do save things, right? So maybe you're gonna reverse the bytes or whatever you're gonna do with it, and that's it, right? So you, in your large application, you only have like the tiniest unsafe code, right? As long as you can prove that it's safe. Now here's the kicker. Proving things to be safe is harder in Rust than it is in C because everything is unsafe. But not because of that, it's because you have more rules to uphold. But as long as you don't take ownership of the thing that you get from here, you are fine. Okay, you are fine. So you do the unsafe thing to convert this thing into a safe Rust, and there's not really a lot of overhead with that, right? Not something that you should necessarily break your brain over, right? I mean, obviously, you're going to write code that's going to generate assembly instructions, and something has to run these instructions. So yes, they will take CPU cycles, right? No code runs without CPU cycle, right? Unless optimized code. Well, then it's optimized out. So shut up, Adami. Okay, so yeah, you do that thing there, and then everything else that you build is just your safe Rust. So you have your function called do save things that gets a slice in of bytes, right? And you can do whatever at this point, right? So do save things with save things, right? And you're good. You don't have to keep everything in unsafe, right? That was kind of a meaningless example since I didn't actually do anything with it, but you know. Hello, AZX, how you doing? Okay, so we can kind of see that this thing should become a renderer. So let's make a new source renderer here. Let's go to librs. Let's add a mod renderer. In there. Pubstruct renderer. Bloop. Okay, let's import the renderer. Let's have a function called render. I don't even know if it needs mutable access itself. I don't think it does, right? As a matter of fact, we're going to try to avoid that if we can, right? So let's just get rid of this thing for now, right? But what you do need is some state, okay? Well, without the double S in there. Okay, so we're going to pass in the state. I'm all right, ICS. I'm all right. I'm happy to work on the game engine again. Making more ridiculous videos and I'm loving it. I have to say. Okay, so we're gonna change self to state here. We do need the service key code apparently, so we're gonna get that in as well. But let's see. The only unsafe thing is my raw pointer exported from the kernel holding the file descriptor mounted kernel FS. Even better simply, let me show you something, right? There's an actual trait designed for this from raw file descriptor, right? So if you have something, all right, we can use this again, right? Extern function, do it. That's gonna get a file descriptor in, and that's a const i32 maybe. All right. Now we can unsafe this. We can say file descriptor or dereference the file descriptor. We don't. That's gonna give us the file descriptor. We're gonna shadow this because there's no reason to hold on to that. So now this is an i32, and then we're gonna do from raw file descriptor. Actually, let's do this thing, right? From raw file descriptor. What do you mean no code action? Where are you? FD from raw file descriptor. I would have thought this thing was implemented for whoops, impl as raw from raw for file. I thought we had this for a number. Maybe we don't. So how do we make a raw file descriptor? Raw file descriptor. That is just an i32. Look at that. Right. We don't even have to do anything with that, right? This is already a file descriptor as far as we're concerned. Okay. Then we're done. Right. There's your file descriptor. Because that's just type editors. But there's other things that are other things than raw file descriptors, right? But that's good enough, right? Now, I don't know what you're going to do with this thing, but you certainly can, right? So at this point, we could return impl as raw file descriptor. If we wanted to, we don't have to. Done, right? No, you shouldn't learn Rust because Rust can cause you to have fun programming, which we know the programming isn't fun. I got nothing. If you guys don't want to learn Rust, you should learn Rust. Okay. Right. What are we going to do is we're going to render function. We need to pass in the server for the color, but we're not going to do that. We're just going to panic here and let Rust infer what that means. And we come back and fix that. We need load up in here. We might need a lot of things in here, come to think of it. Great. There we go. Is Lua important to learn from learning Vim? I don't know, Oglop. I never learned Lua, so I can't answer that. Result. What are we doing for our result here? A unit and probably can use the crate. So use crate error result. Okay. Oh, that's already returning a result, so we're good. And that's state. Device. Device is private, so pub crate. Ain't that great? Device. Oh, I didn't save it because I'm simple. Type annotation needed. Okay, that is a bunch of bytes then. Okay, they are apparently F64s. Okay, so there we go. Self.q. No, wait, where did you come from? There we go. Oh my god, that was easy, right? I'm considering trying NeoVim, but building bare NeoVim into something that IDE-ish feels a bit overwhelming. Yes, it can do oglop. It definitely can do. So before you decide to take Vim or NeoVim, it doesn't really matter which one you take, right? Before you decide to take this software and make it into an IDE, take it and make it into an editor first, okay? An editor that suits you. So you get familiar with the motions, you get familiar with the basics, you install a bunch of plugins, and you just use it for a weekend and see how you like it. Hello, Kitty Poo, how you doing? Oh, I was wondering where you were. So yeah, just run it and see what it's like. I think making this into an IDE requires a lot of work and customization, and you gotta be willing to do that work. Otherwise, you're not gonna get the editor you want, right? The point of Vim/NeoVim is to tailor an experience to your wants. If you don't have strong wants, then an IDE is probably better. The benefits of Vim, other than modularity and the fact that Vim bindings are amazing, is things like startup time, right? If I need to write an email, that's it, right? So that's really like nice to have the same editor for everything. But just meetings, yeah, well, on call as well. Ah, no. Well, I'm here to keep you company. So yeah, it's really nice to have the same thing for everything, and it's nice to be able to do what you need to do. But if you don't have the interest, then it's kind of gross, right? Yeah, VS Code works probably quite fine. I think I said VS Code is a good example that you can do pretty decent things with Electron if you want to. What is that cable for? Hang on. All right, I had a mystery cable that should probably be routed through the desk. There, anyway. Yeah, so yeah. If you don't like it, you don't like it, right? There's no reason you are going to be you're not going to be a better programmer if you use Vim or not, right? But okay, hang on. Let me do, speaking of better programmer, right? Let me do this, okay? But let me show you something really cool though. I'm just going to open something that I can share on stream. Sorry. What would be a good example? Oh man, I was trying to load Discord, but it's not even loading now. Why is Discord so shit sometimes? Restart Discord. Discord mobile, everyone. Pretty good. I love those lines, right? They're like, lots of things happening there, right? Okay. Why was I gonna show you Discord? Because, okay, check this out. Oh, fuck off, Discord. Check this out. That's me typing on my keyboard, all right? And then push button back to here, right? Why is that cool? Yes, I can swap between my phone and my computer with my keyboard at the press of a button. That is super convenient when you're writing long text messages to annoy people, okay? I just want to show you that, but I did a bad job of showing you that after, all right? But it is really, really nice, right? I should have a comment there instead. And the fact is that I have to use both my hands though to push the button in each side, right? But let me open up the community chat again. Can I? Okay, well, Control A, delete, right? Focus. Where are you? focus, right? So focus camera. Don't be a dingus, all right? So typing, okay? And then back to NeoVim, right? How cool is that, all right? I hate typing on mobile phones, okay? That's why I'm a massive shit for this thing, right? I wish Nerdash was here because I want to show him that. He has the same keyboard. If you have the DeFi, you should definitely try that because it is super convenient to be able to do that, right? Just go boop, boop, and then, oh, we're on the phone now, so we can type on the phone and then boop, boop, back to the computer again, right? I plan Vim to edit my RC files, but I'm missing syntax highlighting and language servers. That exists in Vim. IntelliJ takes a long time to start. I get that. I was an IntelliJ PyCharm user for a long time, and I don't. So I respect what JetBrains are doing. It's all nice and all, but they're a bit slow when it comes to starting up, right? So VS Code was never for me. I tried VS Code a little bit, but I just felt like, nah, this is not how I want to deal with things, right? We're gonna have to pass in the clear color in here. So why don't we do that as a reference, right? So clear color. Nope. Sorry about that. So if we do this, that means that we have to have state and access to these things. But now we can by just passing the state into the render instead, right? But I think it's also, if you think about how much time you spend with any editor, right? You're gonna spend a lot of time with them either way, setting them up, changing things, installing plugins, doing whatever, right? But if your general take is some kind of like right-click install plugin and forget about it, if that's your take on things, then it might not be your cup of tea, right? Yeah, I think Vim bindings either way are definitely worth knowing and using. Oh yeah, I need to add the depth stencil at some point. But this is our render now. We need to pass in something called a scene for this, but that means that in our state, we can probably get the render function out of here. Yeah, let's delete the whole thing, shall we? So this is just going to be, and you know what? We don't need to do events in here either. Okay, so now there is no render function, but let's get a render in here. So this is our window handler. That's kind of messed up that that's called the window handler, right? You just programs, Nigel, right? That's how you become good. Be interested, be curious, and stay programming, and don't worry about. I think that's kind of what all we had to say to people was that, but now we have to add this to the list, and don't worry about AI is taking your job, okay? That's a good point, Modprog. I should try to give Helix a fair shake again. Have they fixed the debugging thing, right? Can you debug properly with Helix yet? Absolutely, Oglop. Absolutely. So that one should probably be renamed to something. Let's add a renderer here. like so. Okay, that should not return. That should return a slice. There's no reason to return that. So I guess we could store the clear color here. And what did we used to have there? This. Yeah. Gross-ish. Oh yeah, that was the name of the color, was gross-ish, right? You can take it as far as you want, Oglob. You can just learn to use the basic setup and not anything else. Right? I still recommend reading like the Vim. I really like that Vim by Drew Neal. I thought it was good. I mean, you can read a lot of these resources online for free, of course, but I think it was a good book, right? This is the book. Did I resize? Yeah, I did. Vim book, Drew Nail. Practical Vim, that's what it was called, right? Come on, man. This book here. This is I think this was a good book. Mine's a bit older, but it was good. Good read. Enjoyed it. Not much of a plot twist, but you know. Okay. Yeah. Okay, I don't know what we're doing with the poll thing there. That probably has to be rewritten, but we're not going to deal with the server just yet. So we just added the renderer as a separate component. And the goal here is to be able to build up the renderer, attach it to the game loop somehow, and then we're just going to pass the game loop. So we're not really passing in the renderer. But we need to simulate this thing. So we're going to have the state on here as well, right? So we're just going to make a new state. That doesn't do anything. We're just making this look very similar, right? Could we maybe do something where we just have access to the game loop from here? Let's have a look. Interesting. So we can't make the state. No, that is the problem, right? Hello, Privis. How you going, buddy? How are you doing? Hello, Yoga. I didn't know you were on Blue Sky. Your waifu said it's a good idea to use it. I don't know what waifu means in this context. Is that like your actual wife or a body pillow? I can't tell with people anymore. I think it's a good idea to use Linux. It's somewhat it can be a very frustrating experience if you it can be a frustrating experience if you are new to it, but it used to be that there used to be a lot of reasons why people wouldn't use Linux, and one of them were gaming. And I feel like that's kind of solved, but you have to be a little bit of a tinkerer. Not much, but a little bit, right? If you just want to be spoon-fed everything, then Linux is not for you anyway. Okay. Now we're gonna create this window handler, and we run whatever we pass in as the app. That should probably become the game loop, right? Okay, so let's say that that is the game loop. All right, this is all right one. Let's plus that one. Okay. So we are passing in. Let's say that we pass in the game loop here. Yeah, the asset creation, there is where therein lies the rub, right? People who are married to Adobe software are going to struggle moving to Linux because running Photoshop and Illustrator on Linux isn't really, I don't know. I mean, someone might have succeeded in doing so, but I don't know what that's like. GIMP is not a Photoshop replacement. It's all right. I use it. I don't do a lot of photo retouching anymore, so I barely deal with GIMP, but in my book, it's not comparable. As much as I like to hate on Adobe because they are terrible and awful people, and the people who make business decisions there are literally Satan, but that aside, I think that they do have the best Photoshop-like tool, being Photoshop. GIMP, Krita, what else do you have? They're not comparable, right? Adobe is evil. Yeah, absolutely. No, hands down. Adobe is up there with Unity, EA, and, sure. But eventually every corporation becomes evil, right? It's just the nature of things. When the focus is on quick profits and no long-term gain, then and when we don't invest in people, right? But that's not the nature of companies, right? So, you couldn't uninstall it without subscribing. That is a new low, Adobe. Okay, so we are creating the window here. And then we get the state here. That would be the renderer, right? No, we're just creating this state here. That's okay. Do we really want to have an associated type with the game loop? I don't think so. We'll see. Then we replace the state. This thing should really only run when you kind of exit the application on a mobile phone or when you start the program for the first time. We can have a look. For consistency, all platforms emit resumed events, even if they don't themselves have a form suspend resume lifecycle. For systems without a form resume is always emitted after the init event. Okay. It's recommended applications should only initialize the graphics context and create a window after they receive the first resumed event, so not on the init event. Some systems, especially Android, won't allow applications to create a render surface until they are resumed, considering that the implementation of suspend resumed events may be internally driven by multiple platform-specific events, and that there may be subtle differences across the platforms with how these internal events are delivered. It's recommended applications be able to gracefully handle redundant suspend or resume events. So I think that's fine, right? Oh, sorry. I missed the game, The Redemption. All right, let's do it. Ooh, that's so. What do we think here? That this makes me think 2016 to 2018 from this graphics. I can't quite tell the game yet. It's not Doom. Is there a Good and Evil? No. Oh, this is the okay, what's it called? It's on it's one of those open world games where you do a bunch. It's like one of those wild open world games. It's not Grand Theft Auto. Damn, what's it called? I know this game. I just can't remember the name of it, right? It's one of those like ridiculous games where you oh, isn't it Heaven and Hell? No, that's not it. Oh my god, what's the name of the game? Jeepers. I think they released a version for Switch 2 or 3 years ago. It's not something Heaven and Hell. Angels with scaly wings. Oh my god, I'm going crazy. I know the game, I just don't know it. Like, the dude's got a purple suit on, right? There's a dude here with a purple suit. I can't remember the bloody name of the game. Oh, I don't remember the name of the game. It is so frustrating. Oh no, I thought he had a purple suit on, but he didn't. It's still that game, right? It is still that game. It's a ridiculous game. Saints Row. Get out of hell. There we go. Oh my god, I vaguely remember 2015. I was off by 1 year there, right? Oh, god damn. Wasn't there one with a purple suit in there somewhere? There is. That's not it though. The third? I just remember the purple suit so well. It's a very purpley game. This is the one I was thinking of, right? Saints Row. All right. Okay, no worries. Fable, Saints Row. Yeah, I thought Doom from the hellish nature at first. The purple is very Saints Row purple, yeah. Is it it's like Saints Row? Purple Tycoon Manager. Such a fun game. I never played it. I think they released Saints Row for Switch some years ago. Re-elected. That's the one. And that's why I remember the suit. And that was 5 years ago. Damn, time. Slow down. I'm not getting any younger. Unless... No. You know what I'm gonna do? No, I'm not gonna do that. Okay, hang on. I gotta write another thing on my door before we get on with it. I had to write down to disable the old YouTube shorts that I have because they're not really that funny. And I think I'm just gonna disable like one of them because it's just it's not funny. Do something better. Anyway, I just think something. I have to write it down on the door. I have my notes on my door. Okay, so create a window and then we can recreate the graphics context. So we're not gonna call it state. We're gonna call it graphics context then, right? I think that's fine. It's not gonna have the input anymore. We're definitely getting rid of the input here. Graphics context, that makes more sense. Okay, there we go. Have you tried Beaver Notes? Is that a program, Scott? Okay, so then we're gonna get rid of the state there. We're gonna change that to graphics context. Oh, we couldn't do that. You think that's old Wi-Fi guy? I remember using a rock and a stick and calling that tooling. Man, caves were a lot better back then. Anyway. Okay. Oh, I amused myself. So graphics has to be rebit. Is there anything in the graphics context that shouldn't be there? Window, yes. Device surface, yes. Vertex buffer, yes. Okay. All of these things should be there. Okay. Wow, that just made so much more sense, didn't it? That just made so much more sense. So this thing can create the graphics context. Okay, in that case, we have to put the game loop here. So the game loop needs to have a... We need to do something, right? It's a node program, so simple that I like it. I think to me, having a separate program for nodes doesn't make sense when I have basically this. If I need to remember this, whoops, remember this thing, all right? And now I know. I just have to go and look at my diary, and I can see, oh, I'm supposed to remember this thing, right? Oh, there you are. Lol needs more notes. But I'm writing them down physically with a pen. This is how I write on the door, right? I showed this off at the beginning of the stream, right? These are massive post-its, right? Focus on a piece of paper, camera. There you go, right? Massive post-its. Oh, whatever. Really useful. Oh, let me bedazzle you again. Check out these guys. And the basil is really, really taking off. Look at the basil. Basil! Focus, basil. Focus on the basil. Basil. Alright, fine. Don't focus on the basil. All of them are growing now. I'm very excited. Okay. So we now have... this is kind of the driver of this now. And here we're going to do the game loop tick. But in doing so, we have to pass in the rendering code that should happen. Pesto in my future. Yeah, I look forward to getting some of that, right? It does smell really nice. I like it. I got basil, dill, parsley, and coriander. I can't say cilantro without people losing the shit. So, yes. Okay. Game loop is supposed to tick. Now, technically, we could do the rendering code in here, but I want to confine everything to the game loop. What is the game loop supposed to do? No method name tick. That's because we don't have physics associated with it yet. That's why. Okay. Physics is bloat. Yeah. Game logic is bloat. Maths is bloat. You got auto-modded. The follower says, I love HP firmware. Just use your imagination. Oh yeah. All day, every day. Okay. We could call this thing outside of the game loop, but I kind of don't want to. Could we pack everything into the game loop instead, right? So the window, the state, and server, everything lives on it. Is that is that a good thing or a bad thing? It gets us out of this Winit bubble though, and the Winit bubble sucks. It would be nice, wouldn't it? So we put the graphics and well, the window. We can't have a resumed function on the game loop because that sounds like pausing and resuming, so that's not going to happen. Come on, brain. Do the thinky thing you do sometimes. You can do it. I feel like we're on the cusp of something beautiful, right? We're just gonna reach out and grab it. The window, the graphics context depends on the window. We get a new window here. We can initialize the graphics context. Okay, so the graphics context lives outside of the game loop. We can pass the graphic context and the server into the game loop. as we do something with it. And then we move the render onto the game loop. Okay, so that will be the first thing to do. Let's start there. So we need to put the graphics context on the game. What are you? Are you a struct? Yes, okay. So graphics is now on the game loop. But yes, so we can just have a pass through on that one because the only thing it needs to know about the graphics is the renderer. So I guess we can put the renderer on the game loop. In that case, this rend function can now do. Okay, so we give that to the renderer here. We're not going to call that render. We're just going to call render on it. So self.render, and then it shouldn't be instant because we shouldn't force that. Okay, is there a... Oh, we might need another trait. We might need another trait for this. That means that we can get rid of the tick, though. Okay. We have now followed this a little bit waywards with... Waywards? Carry on now. Okay, shut up. We follow this into the game loop. We have the render. This has to be a concrete type, and it's the last thing we're gonna call. So why don't we make this a trait? New source renderer pub trait renderer render. And what do you need? You need a graphics context. And you need one more thing, but I don't know what that is. You probably have to return a result. So we're going to do something about that. But when could the render be allowed to fail? It could. When we get the current texture, it can fail. That's why. We don't need no stinking traits. Then instead of having instant here, wait, we need this to be affected by the timing. So you can run this loop and build your own ridiculous VSync, all right? So you can not VSync, but you can lock this to a frame rate that is independent of the driver. I did, and it's now broken. Yeah, see, I want to change this type. I want to change this to... Could never get the hang of Mondays. Okay. So how does physics work then, right? What does this do? We can advance physics. Yeah, we still haven't figured out how to associate that with anything. Oh, okay. We're almost there though. No, we do. We have a means to advance physics. Ish. Okay, let's do a dummy renderer. Import renderer for dummy. Oh my god, I can't type. Really? Did I not add that here? I did not. That explains a handful of things. That explains a handful of things. So we should, in theory, be able to do so if we so wanted. We obviously can't have that as a result, right? So we're gonna fix that. But we should now have a renderer. Actually, let's get rid of this thing. Let's just use the dummy here. I guess we can re-export this. No, no, no. We have to do it that way. Yes. Okay. So what are we passing into this builder? We're passing in the renderer. Okay, so that will be rend in that case. Then the state isn't gonna live there. The state has to live somewhere else. And that makes sense. That's okay. Well, it's not a state anymore. It's the graphics context, right? And now that's just a unit. Oh, the physics thing. You gotta keep considering it, Pepper. Okay, so we have our loop builder. We can build a game loop, and I don't know what to eat for lunch. These are very important things. We're almost there. What are we missing now from here? So this is going to be the renderer that we have associated with the client, but we can still give it a separate renderer. So now we need to implement the game loop. Is it renderer or just render? Renderer. Oh, I don't like that. Let's call it rendering instead. Rendering.ing. Okay, cool beans. So rendering. Why are you building? Is that not available in here? Yeah, we got the game loop. right? Is it graphics? No location found. All right. That's gonna be, oh, the clear color thing again. Damn it. Gotta fix that. That's okay. That is gonna be a mutable reference to graphics context, like so. Then we can't use this result for now. You are mutable. You unwrap. Like so. Okay, I think we're getting somewhere. No clear color for you. Not yet. This does exist. It's just being a dingus about it. Good work on the discipline challenge, by the way. Oh, I'm not in streamer mode even. Okay, so what are you? Yes, there we go. Okay, so we're gonna get rid of all this eventually, of course, but we're getting closer now. So we have the graphics context. We're passing that in. In reality, we're just gonna call game loop tick and probably pass in the context. They're so nice, the Digma people. They're emailing me. Okay. Oh, we are almost there. We're passing. Well, we need to solve the physics and the renderer now. And the physics is running. That means that all of these things need to have their own functions associated with them. And we need to somehow bundle these in to these things, right? Ah, my shoulder is I'm gonna rip it off and throw it at the window soon. Stupid aged old shit body. Whoops, sorry. Okay. So how can we do that then? Not rip my shoulder off. I need that. Like the render. Okay, let's look at the time steps here. Every time step has a trait called tick that is being called here. So if we implement our own data for that, how does that work? We're almost there. Come on, shit brain. Get on with it. We have the render. We have the graphics context. We're going to stick a loop in here. And we're going to drive this thing. So we're going to do... Well, we're not going to do anything with that yet. But we are going to do something with that eventually. So we have the dummy render. We have the dummy graphics context, which is not a dummy for the renderer. But we build the game loop. We need a physics step. And what does the physics step actually do? Well, it has to notify something else. It's driving something else. If it's on another thread, then what it's doing is dealing with the channel. But if it's on the same thread, okay, we need some dummy physics then, right? Let's have a struct called, well, it's not just physics, right? It is advancing is the physics step, right? So let's say that we have something else, right? Let's say that we have a struct called phys_A with a floating point value and phys_B with another floating point value. This is effectively our scene stack or something, right? And then we're gonna have a struct called something else, the game, okay? And it's gonna have A, B, and we're gonna implement the game. Oh no, and here all we have to do here is just tick the game, but we need the input too, right? So it's not as simple as that. We need to be able to get the input as part of this. We could attach that, but not to a timer, damn it. That is stuck. It's a little bit stuck. Let's have two functions on this thing, right? So we need physics, which is gonna have some kind of input, right? And we need another function for input. It doesn't matter what the input actually is. We just have to call it. Now we need to tie this in with the game loop somehow. I guess what we could do, well, we could attach the input handling to the game loop as well, but that's becoming a little bit dumb. There's one more function that we haven't talked about, and that's the networking part. So we have something like network. Actually, this is kind of okay. Can we invert these things then, maybe? So the game gets the loop instead? No, that doesn't work. Because we keep ending up in the situation where we have all this blocking stuff going on, right? That doesn't sound healthy, Christopher, right? My insides would literally fall onto the floor and it would be super gross in here if you did that. And I need my skin to be facing inwards, not outwards, right? Look like a Cenobite. Did you guys see the latest Louis Rossmann video? That was crazy, by the way. Like, what? What a plot twist that was. Insane. No, Enrico, the one that was released a few hours ago, I think it was, with the was the Australian hacker dude who sold software and was being a little bit sketchy about customer support, and then plot twist. Hope you went somewhere nice then, Chris. You should go and watch that, Enrico, when I'm done streaming. You have to stay here while I'm streaming, though. Okay, we have 3 functions that needs to run independently. The physics, we can run... Actually, no, we could run the network as part of a time step. I think we can solve that one. Industrial exhibition, that sounds really cool. That's the one. Yeah. Oh my god, that dude has disappeared from the internet now. Wow. Do a second part of day 1 challenge. No, you can only do it once a day, right? After that, you don't have to hold yourself to the challenge. Just do whatever, right? Yeah, it's insane, Christopher. It's absolutely insane. All right, trust. Okay. I am doing poorly as a streamer. I'm sorry. How can we drive this? The physics is driven from the game loop. The input can be driven from the other thing, right? Hello, Polly. How you going? Hmm. Okay, so this is what it comes down to when you're designing software. This is the boring part. Actually, it's not the boring part. This is the part that becomes a bit fun sometimes. But this is also the part that gets ruined by C# and Java, okay? Because they took this part and then they made it into an art form of not getting shit done. How much you got left, though, Polly? Emotional. We have support bunnies in the Discord. It could be an emotional support bunny. My emotional support bunny is a bit crooked. Okay. So how should this really work then, right? Thank you for the follows, by the way. I got a little bit annoyed by the camera's focus madness. The time for hat is not now, Enrico. The time for hat is hats for victories, okay? Hats for winners. I'm not a winner right now. Fair enough, Polly. I wish I had some encouraging words for you, but I don't. Well, that I can relate to, Polly. It's a tough one, Polly. Sorry, I don't have any more encouraging words for you than that. My head's kind of my head's in the game, in this game. But okay. I mean, I can give you a platitude. Like, it gets better as you get older. I mean, life gets better as you get older, I think. I think the worst portion of my life was probably you got the awkward teenage years, and then you got the years when you're kind of figuring out yourself. And then kind of after 24, you kind of start living. Because up until the point, you're an arrogant twat, maybe. I don't know about you, but I was. I thought I knew everything. Hello, Caleb. Saying that you have to salvage the situation sounds like you've broken the situation. The situation is broken. But if it's a tough situation, and I'm saying that as a positive thing, right? But there's nothing wrong with taking a breath now and then, right? And it's okay to be it's okay to need a break, right? Procrastinating calming down. I don't know if you're procrastinating calming down or if you're procrastinating while you're calming down, because calming down seems like a really good thing to do. Okay, so we got the game, we got the game loop. Which one should drive which? Hello, Tempe. How you doing, buddy? All right, Temporis is here, so it's time to wrap up the stream. I hope you guys had a lovely time. I'm gonna no, not at all. Well, sleep is very important. Okay, it depends a little bit how we're gonna do the networking, but I think we are gonna do it in a way that we're kind of blocking. That's fair enough, Temporis. Surdy can be fun too. I'm lying, it cannot. It's not. It's nothing fun about it. Very good, Bonin. No way! Oh, dude, that sucks. I'm sorry. Oh man, I'll chat to you after stream if you want. No, that is not fun, Boris. But do you really need to use 30? I mean, like, are you using 30 just because the derive macro, or? I've been there though, Caleb. Although it was a little bit different, but yeah. Using 30 because it supports both Jason and YAML. Okay, come on, brain, focus. All right. This is so complicated to know what to do here. The input needs to be driven externally. The networking could be driven by a time step, and physics is driven by a time step. I don't know what we're gonna do here. So we end up with these two functions, right? So we have the window handler. And let's import the window. I mean, I'm sitting like a bloody gherkin. If I sat like a normal person, maybe I could actually write. Okay, so we have something that looks a bit like this. Now, input is actual input handling, so it's not the same as networking. And since I don't know how the network is going to be done, it's really hard to say. So, but it's most likely, am I going to run the networking on a separate thread, maybe? Well, this was supposed to, yeah, no, that's fine. So we can run the networking on a separate thread where we pull the, we read from the socket, do all the state diff and everything, and then we just send that on somewhere else, right? So we probably just get snapshots sent to a different thread to do all that work, right? So we get a snapshot of the relevant game world sent to another thread, which will do all the smushing and then send things back to the clients, right? For future processing. You should try JJ, Danaka. No, don't explain, man. Don't do it, man. Don't do it. It's a trap. Okay. So inside a loop, can you do copy on write pages without forking? It would be nice to get a snapshot without paying the cost of copying the state. I mean, if we write the state into like a ring buffer temporus, and so that we could do, right? So we write the state into a ring buffer because you're always sending the past to the clients, right? Yes. Okay, so we're gonna match on the event. And if it's an input, then do we have a game state here? Do we have the game on the window handle? That to me sounds insane. That is just 3 different kinds of gross. So the event loop is the driver. But we need this dumbass window handler thing because they've taken all ownership of all of this thing. I don't like this. I want like the old traditional way of doing it, but don't recommend using that. Fine, I'll listen to your bullshit. Now let me get on with it. All right, so we're gonna do... I guess we don't have to call this the window handler, do we? So this could be the... Well, that becomes the game. It could be the game loop here then. That could work. Oh, that's nice, Tanaka. I already have Coldberg. You recommended Coldberg to me a while ago, and I like it. I haven't done much with it, but I like it. Okay, so the window handler becomes the game. Maybe that could work then. So the game, we have to implement the window handler for the game. So we need to have the resumed and window event. Although this could drive the game, right? So it's the input is not on the game loop. Oh, I see. That's cool. Didn't know that. Oh, hang on. Why is this thing all balked? Can I upload a video to Discord? Now, forget that now. It's how many... 383 megabyte. Yeah, I could upload that to Discord. Hang on. Will Discord allow that? Maximum file size is 10 megabyte. Okay, I'm sorry, Discord. You're not getting it. With Nitro, yeah, with Nitro you can. Some of these videos are in the gigabytes though, so I'm not gonna change them. It's not worth it. Don't worry about it. I'll figure something out after the stream. 38 parts, yeah. But I wish I could share. I wish I could share videos with my community on YouTube before they are published with private links, but you can't do that. But that means I have to sign up for AWS, Simon Ost, and I feel like if I have to pay for AWS or like all the subs and everything, we just go around and around at Amazon, right? Hello, Boris. How you doing? Just torrent it to them. No, I don't like this song. Bye. The event loop is basically driving me crazy. And then let's have a look at the server. The server has the world, which is going to be driven by all these things, right? That is the thing though, Boris. That is not possible with a scheduled release date. So if I make a video that I've scheduled one to be released in a couple of days from now, I think maybe 15th. It's just a short. I just do YouTube shorts though, right? So it's not like worth getting all excited about, but I would love to be able to share it with people before that. But that means uploading 2 videos, and that seems silly. Hmm. Maybe one of them was just published, by the way. No, I can't look at that now. Forget about it. Hang on, I have to go and look. No. But yeah, I thought about that, but I don't want to make you guys like the thing is, people are already subs here on Twitch and they're on Discord, so making them members seems just like a third thing people have to deal with. And I don't know if you have an option to publish for members, right? Buy Hetzner object storage, super cheap. Yeah, but then I am publishing the video twice. Then I could just upload it twice to YouTube and that's free, right? I guess it's not like a big problem, right? I just feel like I want to give something more to the people who are subscribed. I just don't know how. Okay, so the server is running its own thing. It's running the world. I guess the server kind of needs the game loop too. Oh man, have I fudged this up? I think I have. Oh, pockets. Okay. I need to rethink this whole design. It's stupid. Oh, just hit undo. Yeah. Already had all this change. I can't. Yeah. Sorry, I'm just tanking here a bit. I need to redesign this whole thing. And it's so frustrating. Mm. All right, should we start again? From the top? Take it from the top? Single-threaded, multi-threaded. No, and to add on top of that, Temporis, it has to work as a single-threaded and a multi-threaded server as well. So there's like there's so many frustrating variables here. I'm not giving up on the server client config, but what the server is a little bit different, right? Okay, let's see. Let's go to this thing now, where we have all the notes already. All right. Okay, we've done that part already. So we solved the inclusion zone. Okay, let's start. I don't think John Carmack has to deal with freaking win it anyway, so let's make a new one. How do I make a new one? Where is the new button? Reset the canvas. Okay. So we have the horrible event loop. Awful but wonderful win it, right? I asked my wife to read it, Simon, but she didn't understand any of it, so I assumed that you're wrong. Okay, so we have this thing that has two things coming out of it. It has the render and input. Well, render or tick, right? And input. That's what we're dealing with here, right? And then we spend 2 hours just resizing this window. This is the entire entry point into our ridiculous project, right? Oh no, we have to do the resume thing as well, because middle finger, right, to everything and then some. And resume is going to be in charge of initializing graphics context, right? So we're just going to remember that part, right? So all of this is going to have to go to the same thing. But this could be the server. No, we've already done that. Okay. So question is, what is happening there? And what is happening there? I think these two needs to go to the same place. Oh, well, that's stupid. Okay, let's go there instead. All right, whatever. Whatever, nerd. Okay. I'll skip net play because I won't get more than one player. You have 0 friends. Okay. This thing has to be. It has to do a couple of things. Maybe it can do a couple of things. Maybe the renderer should be out of it. No. Okay. Here's the thing. We need to kind of resolve the physics step on the client as well. And that's what makes this so. I know, Enrico. What a bloody plot twist that was. You're like, what? He what? That when you hear the story about what this person did, you're like, what? Yeah, that's just insane. You'd think that if you are a person with a sketchy criminal past, that you don't want to make waves, okay? The latest Louis Rossmann video. That was some grade A internet justice right there. So the thing is, I am very much of the opinion that you shouldn't go and seek justice on the internet against people you hear other people are talking about, right? So if some dude turns up in my Discord and be like, oh, this person's done a lot of bad things, they're a bad person, you should not rally the masses and go on a witch hunt, okay? Because generally you don't have all the answers, but assuming that Louis Rossmann didn't make all that shit up, man, that's pretty insane. I don't know what that means, Privan, but I guess that's someone who doesn't want to be criticized. Wait, can I do something to get people not to criticize me? Let's go and do that. No, that's insane. I'm not gonna spoil the video for you. But again, like, you gotta be cautious when it comes to the internet justice machine, right? Because sometimes people are victims of it. In this case, it's a bit different, right? The fountain of poo ensues. Put my face as a static image on your screen and no more criticism. Do you want to do like a live stream so I can put you down here in the corner and you can sort of just lip sync to what I'm saying and people be like, the camera is a bit off, whatever. Like, we don't care about that. Like, the audio and the video is a bit out of sync, is what they say. But then you could be there, Preven, and then I have to anticipate what it is that you want, and then you'd be like, oh, so now I'm gonna go and write this code, and I have to just scramble to go and write it. Okay, so we have to do a couple of things on the client. Oh, I know who that is, Preven. Yeah. Build T3 Chat, which seems like a nice product. Way faster UI for ChatGPT. They did a deploy and blamed it on Brave browser, and someone said the problem is not Brave, and he got upset. Ooh, seems like someone I don't want to deal with then. No, this video is from 6 hours ago, Bonin. I'll post the video in the chat, right? Let me get rid of my viewers. You can all go to YouTube and watch this Lewis Rossman video. Hang on. I failed to spell Lewis Rossman, but I don't think that's gonna be a problem. Yeah, the enjoy and learn from the master is gonna be you're gonna have a very different perspective of what that means after you watch the video, and it makes me sick to it just makes me sick, man. God damn it. There are some evil motherfuckers out there in the world. It's just, oh my god. All right. Ugh. Okay, I'm just bored now. Okay, so we have to do things, right? We have to physics on the client, on the server, and they have to do the same thing. Okay. Why? Because we have to do collision detection on the client, because we do client prediction. So we have to kind of deal with that, right? It has a different title. Okay. Oh, I see. All right, some kind of language thing, right? All right, why am I trying to save this? So physics on the client, physics on the server, client side prediction. Okay, so my game loop time step might just not be a good idea. It could be as simple as that, right? Instead, we might just want separate, but we do need some kind of timer. We're gonna use the timing logic. That still makes sense, right? Damn it. Why? Why did I decide to do this? Okay. So physics on the client, physics on the server, client side prediction. And how will this work? Okay, so we'll call this the client. And this would be the server. So what do we do here? We're gonna do we'll do physics here. on both of these. We'll do rendering here. We will do input here, which has to be sent to the server. And then after we've done the physics here and here, we're going to consolidate all the steps and everything. And then we have to communicate back to the client. So input is the only thing that we send to the server. And then we have, I guess after physics, oops, we'll do the, like we do the, we'll do like the game step, right? Which is, that's not really the game step. We do snapshot, right? Snapshot, which we are then sending back to the client. To you, Skylar. How you doing? Yeah, go Lewis. It's insane though, isn't it? It was like, I don't know, like it's just such a weird thing to I don't know, man. It just drives me a little bit like I can't even is my answer to that, right? It's all right, .NET Hero. And but we're not doing .NET now. What a horrible guy. Yeah. It does say. I mean, you literally destroy a child's life and then brag about it on the internet. If this is true, then there's no, I have no, like, just there's no sympathy for this person. You ruined someone's life and you bragged about it. You are literally the reason people can't exist together. You are so scummy. And then we need to render, and then we need to consolidate the snapshot. So what do we call? We're gonna interpolate the snapshot with We're getting there, more Glod. We're adding more. What do we call that step where we're merging the snapshot from the server with the client? So the server will send the snapshot to the client, which is doing its prediction though, right? We're gonna increase the size of this a little. So the tick is gonna have something to do with the renderer and the physics as well. So that's not quite right. Come on, Excalibur, sort yourself out. Okay, and then we're gonna have the timings here, so that will be its own little blob. Where did you go now? There we go. That is definitely true. You have totally understood the problem, and I think you should be our supervisor from here on. Right? You tell us what to do. So physics and rendering is part of some kind of ticking step, right? Let me grab the other boxes, you lingo. You lingo? That's a new curse. You language. All right. So we need to drive a tick here as well. So that's going to be part of this thing. So we'll just call this thing tick, which will do rendering as well then. And then this tick has to propagate over to the server as well. I think douchebag is a very mild way of putting someone who's destroyed lives, and the fact that they brag about it as well makes it like even more despicable. Like if you couldn't be more gross if you tried. Oh, it won't let me do it. Okay. There we go. JS devs or douchebag. I don't know if this is a JS dev, but you know. Talking about the latest Louis Rossmann video, Salmon on. And it's a shocking plot twist to that video. Okay, here's the thing. Do we drive this from the client? We could. So we could propagate the tick over to this tick. Is this right? Yeah, that's done, Baron. It's about what initiates the tick here. The physics and the render aren't combined. Well, they are not. No, they're not. They're not combined. They're just being driven by the same thing that ticks something over. Right. What are we having for lunch, Privan? And it better not be beans on toast, okay? Okay. Is this right? I wonder. Can we make this happen? You ate a steak? You already ate a steak? Oh my goodness. I think this is correct, but I am a little bit uncertain yet. So we're actually passing the delta here, by the way. So the service tick is not the same as the client's tick in that case. But this is also wrong. Boo. This is also incorrect. There's something not right here. And that is the interpolation and the corrections. Oh, man. This is such a complicated issue to solve. Especially when you can do other things like think about food or eating food or wanting to eat food or moving this thing around. This box manipulation is more important than doing the actual work around it, right? There's a distinction here that needs to be made. Well, hmm. Ah, and how does that fit in with my game idea, the Morgrod, for the type of game I'm making? Yes. Oh, streamer, you don't have to be a dick about it. I'm not. Hmm. There is a fundamental thing missing here. Maybe we need to flip this around a little bit. But it is so kind of... No, we can't do that. I was just making fun, Moglod, because you're not the only one that keeps giving me advice without knowing what I'm doing, and that's a little bit like a doctor diagnosing you before you even said anything to them, right? Oh, you need to take this medicine, but you don't even know what's wrong with me. I don't care. Take this medicine. Everyone has this issue, right? It's fine though. Now we have to drive the server through some means, right? A bunny service on the server side. Yes. Now Morglot isn't wrong. Morglot is actually correct. This architecture is based on these things, right? But oh man, you have to see my next video, Priven. I totally do vibe coding. Okay. Vibecode.mu, right? So here's a problem. We have to drive this through something, right? We have to drive this through something, and we are using the Winit crate to drive the event loop, but that doesn't work for a standalone server, right? I mean, you're not wrong, Temporus. I just don't make errors, and you don't need error messages. Have you ever seen me make a mistake, Temporis? I don't think so. Okay. So we need something that sits in between then, right? So we can have the input go to the client, but we need something that provides the delta here. So without a client, there is no direct input to the server. That doesn't make any sense, okay? That just makes no sense whatsoever. Okay, so what we need is some kind of standalone thing that has to be attached to this that is working across both the network and the input and the keyboard, basically, and the keyboard and the keyboard. Put the keyboard in there. All right, I'm done now. So the client that runs the server provides direct command input. For a network client, so that's even more confusing. Arge. If this client is connected to another server, then it's going to behave differently, right? But the physics should never exist on the client in the first place. It should only exist on the server. I have not, Scott. I have, actually. But then I didn't. One of my personality took it. I need food. I need fuel. I am low. What are my numbers like? Yeah, that's what we're doing. So I can share an article with you, Moglod, so you can see a little bit more what we're doing here. We're basing it on this. That's gonna make more sense, right? No, it's not. This is an architectural issue more than anything. So when you run the game, you can also host a server, or you can run the server standalone, or you can run a game and be connected to a server. So there's kind of like three things that you have there, right? Everything is being sent to the server, even if the server is basically your client at the same, it's a client server at the same time, right? So your input gets translated to commands in the games, and the commands are sent to the server. The server will then interpret these commands, manipulate the game state based on this input and time step. On the client side, we do predictions, right? So if you want to move north, then you will move your character north. And then you will tell the server that you're moving the character north. If the server deems that your action, well, the server doesn't really care what you're doing, right? What your game state is. It would just send you a delta of the previous game state, right? So you get an update, and then we have a state buffer that keeps track of all states, so we can play back, right? We can play back the physics step from the server locally and see if anything deviates. And this is for corrections, right? Then we get states from other players in the world, and then we interpolate that. So we're always looking at like the past state and stuff. This is all covered in that article, right? So the difficulty here is the design. It's not really solving these problems. These problems are solved. It's how we solve these problems, right? So we don't end up with something that isn't wieldy enough to work with, right? If it is unwieldy to work with, then I'm not going to make anything with it because it's just going to piss me off. Sorry, something happened over that screen. Anyway, right. So we need to be able to run the server standalone, drive the server by the client, and be connected to a remote server. So as far as the client is concerned, whether the server is also the client or a network server shouldn't really matter, right? It's just sending commands and getting state back, right? That's what the server, if it drives the server or not, shouldn't really matter. But we always need a local server because the game is run on the server, right? So one server should be possibly connected to another server, if that makes sense. So your game, your client is literally just a renderer and nothing else, right? That has nothing to do with what I just said. It's all good though. It's all good. Anyway, what we need to do is we need to get this thing into something that kind of looks and behaves the same way, right? Whether it's remote or local, right? Don't worry about it. Oh, guys, you don't have to give me help with this thing, right? You'd be wasting your breath because I am incompetent and unable to understand what you guys mean anyway, right? Okay, so the server has to work locally and remotely. But since the server is in charge of the game state, and this is where it gets a little bit tricky, right? Oh yeah, Bonin. That's I am gonna assume that guy is gonna go and live in a cave somewhere. Anyway, or go somewhere where you can change your name. I don't know. It's insane. Either way, if you so this the server is in charge. I can show you like another predicament here, right? So let's say that this is the server and we have two game states here, or three game states, right? We have the start screen, which you get when you start the game. Okay. Then we have the actual game world that you play in, right? Or let's call it the world, right? And you can also pause the game because otherwise it would be silly. So you can pause the game, okay? So whichever one of these are active, right? But here's the thing. The world could possibly be not the world. Okay, let me do this. Let me do this. The world can possibly not be the world. A server. Let me draw it like this, right? Another server. Now, this other server doesn't simulate the world locally, right? This other server is connected to, can I type please? To this server through here, right? So where you still, both of these things still represent the start screen, right? Obviously the server doesn't do the rendering, but you understand that, right? Whatever business logic or game logic exists for the start screen, that is being run by the server, okay? Then you choose to start a local game on this server here, right? You choose to start a local game. On this server, you choose to join someone else's game, right? This one's hosting a game. Sorry, it's hosting a game. This one is joining a game. So where the world is sitting on this server, it's just a network biscuit full of rich tea biscuits. No, anyway, so we get the world updates through the network. And then the pause screen is doing the pause screen things. Like these things can run locally no matter what, and this thing runs over the network. All right. So all in all, it's kind of simple. And this server could be running standalone, or it could be started by a client. If it's running standalone, it needs to have its own game loop that drives the server. If it's started by the client, it has to be driven by the tick that comes from Winit, because we can't do this necessarily multi-threaded, right? We could if we threw some things out the window, but we're not really, we're making it possible to do all this in a single threaded instance, meaning we can drive the game and everything. You're probably not going to do any multiplayer with that, but you could if you wanted to at least make a single player platformer game, right? Or whatever kind of game you want to make, right? That's, you know. But so yes, the server could be standalone, could be client, right? We don't really know. Headless, as it were, or driven by the client. So we just need something that drives the tick on a server, which is why we have a tick here that gets the delta from somewhere. But this isn't necessarily what it looks like though, right? So when we get our input here from the client into this guy, we will act upon the input or the commands accordingly based on the start screen. But when we get to the network thing, what we have to do then is serialize, compact, smush, and write a nice little love note and send it over to the other server, which will unpack the whole thing and then incorporate that into the rest of the world and doing the snapshotting and everything like that, right? So yeah, that is kind of the gist of it. So we need to decouple this thing to start with, and we need the server to be able to basically run the entire game loop then, right? Okay, so maybe that's what we need. We need an input adapter, and we need so we can plug in either a network socket or send the commands directly to the server, right? As a configuration? No, you should not send any deltas, any configurations. That doesn't make sense. Basing on load and throughput, master client should be able to change it. You should be able to, but that's all covered in the article. You should definitely be able to, yes, the tick rate, absolutely. But that's all covered in the article, right? That's all covered in the article. But you're absolutely right. You should be able to have a lower tick rate. If you have a shittier internet connection and you connect to a service, you will negotiate the tick rate. But that's kind of orthogonal to the design. That's a very specific detail. That's like trying to decide what kind of wallpaper we should have before we even have walls or a house. And also, should we even have wallpaper? But yes. But you're absolutely right. That has to go in there. Right? Oh, I see. I pasted. Oh, look at that. Paste is a thing. Okay. So what was I saying? Yes, we need some kind of input for the adapter. No, we need an adapter for the input. So the input could come over the network, or if we are... Okay, hang on. There. So we can have something that sits in between. Okay, slow down. All right, we have something that sits in between that will drive the input And we need something that sits in between the snapshots. So if this thing is a network connection, then we need to send our input onwards when this thing is active, right? If we were to think about this as a, let's flip it on its head a little bit, and I'm guessing the text is going to be upside down when I do, but that's perfect. If we think about this as a scene stack instead, when I'm pausing the game, all input should go to the top of the stack, right? So input goes here. Or commands goes here. But when we pop the pause menu off the stack, now this thing has to go over the network onto the server and everything else, right? That's kind of it, right? So yeah, that's what we need. We need something that sits in between all these things. So for the input events, it's all right, Houdini. It's the problem is that I'm low on blood sugar, right? And that's no excuse to be a D-bag, right? It's a reason why, but it's not an excuse to be one, right? But low blood sugar, I definitely need to eat. And I keep being halfway through a thought and then I read chat, and that's on me, okay? That's not on you. You guys shouldn't stop chatting just because I'm an old man, okay? Right? Just ignore me when I'm being a salty old man, okay? I'm sorry. Oh shit, I shouldn't apologize. Shut up. Anyway. All right, so we know that we need that one at least. Okay. So what would that look like in... Okay, let's build that, and that's going to be really, really exciting in the way that it isn't even a little bit. So we need something that is in charge of all the input, right? Whether the input goes through a serialization or not. No, that's not gonna help. That's not gonna help, right? Imagine if people die from watching my stream. I would feel very guilty about that. Now I'm gonna go and eat soon and not be a cranky pants. Don't worry, but I'm not really a cranky pants. Okay, I'm not. Not. But where is my mind then? We need something that drives the input and the tick, and that could be either this or something else. Vibe starving. Yeah, maybe I shouldn't be streaming now. Maybe I should just go and eat some food and sort myself out, right? I'm clearly just all over the place. I need to sit down and think about this because my frustration is that I'm going to have to start again, all right? I mean, we've solved a lot of problems. We can reuse a lot of things, but I have to start again because I have to figure out how all this fits together, right? That is the conundrum here, right? This thing should be not, it should not be there, right? That thing should not be there. This thing should not be there. Let's, okay, now that thing went somewhere completely different. Let's just move all of this thing over here. There should be input adapter here, okay? That goes to there, and then this guy goes to the input here. Come on, Excalibur. Come the flip on, okay? Right. There we go. So we need an input adapter, and that could be something over the network, right? Let's get rid of this guy and this guy as well, right? So let's have another one of these and these. Okay, so you don't copy the connection either. Okay, now you're just being nitpicky. All right. So it can look like this, right? So the input can come either over the network. We still reuse this box and arrows too, right? We can. So that would be that one sorted. And what about snapshotting then? See, that's where things gets a little bit peculiar, right? Because we're gonna generate the snapshot on the server that we're sending to the client for all the remote players, right? Well, I mean, obviously we're sending the delta between the previous snapshots, right? And that could also be put inside an Adaptosaurus, right? Because some of it could go over the network. Now we're going to get arrows crossing a lot of beautiful places here, right? So this guy goes there. No, it doesn't. That guy goes there. All right, there we go, beauty. And then that guy goes there we go, right? But that is the snapshot, right? Now we need another one of those here, right? Because we're going to send this to this guy as well. And that's where things gets a little bit special. Not that way. I can't believe Excalibur hasn't fixed this yet. What a shit thing. Anyway. Go and eat some food already. Okay, I'm going. Okay. So the snapshotting has to be sent to the network as well. So the server effectively needs multiple things to sample input from, multiple things to sample snapshots from. No, to send snapshots to. It's just that in this case, we don't need to establish a network connection or anything of the sort. It makes no sense, right? We can just pass the actual data without compression and serialization directly to the client, obviously. Whereas sending it over the network, we have to do it this way. All right, I'm going to go and eat some food. I'm falling over here and I need to not do that. Anyway, I will be back streaming possibly, probably, likely tomorrow. And in the meantime, I'm going to think about this thing and maybe I have a solution by tomorrow. All right, you guys have been great. Thank you.